Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to talk about a material you probably touch every single day. I mean, it's in your kitchen, your car, your phone, it's everywhere. But this super common metal has a seriously uncommon past. This is the story of aluminum. I know, it sounds completely nuts, right? But back in the 19th century, Napoleon III, yeah, that Napoleon, he served his most honored guests with aluminum cutlery. The other guests? Oh, they just had to make do with boring old gold. So what on earth made this stuff so incredibly precious? And here's the real kicker, the big paradox. It's not that aluminum was rare, not at all. It makes up about 8% of the Earth's crust. It's literally everywhere under our feet. The problem was, it's just chemically stubborn. It's locked up tight with oxygen in its ore, and for the longest time, nobody knew how to break it free without it costing a fortune. So you see, the challenge wasn't finding it was getting it out. This was never a mining problem, it was a chemistry problem, and a really, really tough one at that. And then just like that, everything changed. In 1886, two young inventors, an American named Charles Hall and a Frenchman named Paul Héroult, independently discovered the exact same solution in the very same year. It was this incredible industrial breakthrough that finally unlocked aluminum for the rest of us. So how does this whole process actually work? What was their secret? Well, let's get into the science of it. We're going to go inside a virtual smelter and see the honestly elegant and powerful chemistry that Hall and Héroult figured out. Okay, so the heart of this whole operation is something called an electrolytic cell. And I love this analogy on the slide. Think of it as a chemical crowbar. It uses a massive jolt of electricity to just pry apart those super strong bonds holding the aluminum and oxygen together. It's pure brute force, but on a molecular level. To really get this, let's just build one of these cells ourselves, piece by piece. You'll see what it takes to make this chemical magic actually happen. First thing you need is the container. This is the cathode. It's basically a big steel pot, but it's lined with carbon. Now, this whole pot has a negative charge, and that's super important because this is exactly where our final product, pure molten aluminum, is going to end up. All right, next, we need something for the reaction to happen in, so the pot gets filled with a mineral called cryolite. And it's not just sitting there, it's heated up until it becomes this molten liquid bath, sizzling away at over 950 degrees Celsius. Wow. This superheated liquid is called the electrolyte, and it's the key that allows the electric current to flow right through the whole mix. And the final piece of our puzzle is the anode. These are just huge blocks of carbon that get lowered down into that molten bath. They carry the positive charge. But here's the really crucial detail. The anode isn't just sitting there conducting electricity, it's actually an active part of the reaction. It literally gets consumed, burned away as the process happens. So now that our machine is built, the whole thing is kind of like a simple three-step dance. Step 1, you dissolve your raw aluminum ore into that super hot bath. Step 2, you hit it with a massive direct electric current. And step 3, bam. The chemistry happens, pure liquid aluminum is set free, and since it's denser than the bath, it just conveniently sinks right to the bottom, ready to be collected. So what's really going on here is this great chemical exchange. At the negative cathode on the bottom, the aluminum atoms are grabbing electrons, which reduces them back into pure metal. At the same time, over at the positive anode, oxygen atoms are ripping electrons away from the carbon, oxidizing it and creating CO2 gas. You see, it's a perfect trade. Aluminum gains electrons and carbon loses them. Okay, so that's how you make aluminum in one pot. But, to make the millions of tons the world uses for everything, you have to scale this up, like dramatically. And that's where the industrial potline comes in. And this is how they do it. A smelter doesn't just have one pot, it has a pot line. I want you to picture a building, sometimes over a kilometer long, just filled with hundreds and hundreds of these pots, all wired together in a massive series, just humming with an unbelievable amount of power. And when I say an unbelievable amount of power, I am not kidding. The current, the amperage, flowing through a modern potline can be over 150,000 amps. That is just an absolutely staggering amount of electrical energy. And it's flowing continuously, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. The process never stops. This massive, relentless need for energy brings us right to the modern reality of making aluminum. The equation today is really all about power, the price you pay for that power, and the constant push for progress and efficiency. Just take a look at this chart. Electricity, power consumption, is the single biggest expense. It makes up around 40% of the total cost of making aluminum. Think about that. It costs more than the raw materials themselves. This is why smelters are built in very specific places, locations with cheap, abundant electricity, right? Like Iceland with all its geothermal energy, or Canada with its giant hydroelectric dams. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. Because power is so incredibly expensive, the whole industry is basically in a constant race for more efficiency. If you can get just a tiny little bit more aluminum using the same amount of electricity, you're not just saving millions of dollars, you are directly reducing the environmental footprint of one of the most useful materials in the world. So here's the whole process laid out like a balance sheet. On the input side, you've got your aluminum ore, those carbon anodes that get used up, and of course, a massive amount of power. And on the output side, you get what you want. Pure aluminum, but you also get waste heat, and crucially, you get CO2 emissions from that anode reaction. This really is the central tension of modern aluminum. It's an amazing material, infinitely recyclable, which is fantastic, but making it from scratch has a pretty significant environmental cost. And that kind of brings us to our final thought here. The Héroult process was a revolutionary 19th century invention that literally built our modern world. It gave us everything from airplanes to skyscrapers to soda cans. But as we look at the whole picture, the inputs and the outputs, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What's going to be the next revolutionary process? And what incredible new material will it unlock for all of us?